Hello everybody. Today we're going to be going over some Infinite Lagrange content. Now this is a game that I have not streamed or even recorded a video of before now. This is the first one and what will hopefully be a series of tutorials, guides, and the like to teach new and old players things that they may or may not know. Now, I've been playing Infinite Lagrange for several months now. I'm on my second phase or server. Uh, Much like other games of the sort with seasons that wipe all the content out after 2, 3, 4 months, Infinite Lagrange has what's called phases or servers. And after an organization conquers the map, the server is effectively wiped out. Everybody's sent back to base, and they start over on a new server with rewards based on their performance in this one. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of what Infinite Lagrange is, really, or why I play it, other than it's a science fiction space game that's a lot of fun. But what I am going to do is go over some tips, tricks, strategies, things like that. Now, if you're coming to these videos, there's a pretty good chance that you've looked this up on YouTube and you're trying to find some specific content. Well, today's video we're going to be going over the do's and don'ts of research agreements, boxes, and things like that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and preface this by saying I am not a whale, and I have not spent a ridiculous sum of money on this game. I played the first phase without spending any money, really. I believe I got the cheap little $10 battle pass or $5 or whatever it was at the time. Which is where a good chunk of this came from. And then after playing through that, I decided I liked it, and supported the dev by buying one more $10 purchase. But by no means do you have to spend money to play this game, because as I said, I played through the entire first server without spending a cent, and I can continue to play without spending a cent and not feel like I'm at a huge disadvantage. Now, that said, it brings me to the topic of this video, which is research agreements, ships, parts, modules, and the like. Now, in Infinite Lagrange, you have various ships in various categories. They range from the lowly and yet powerful corvette and fighters, all the way up to the big carriers, with some other stuff thrown in there like force auxiliaries, battle cruisers, and the like. Now, to unlock all these different ships, you basically have to rely on the game's gacha system. I don't know another way of describing it other than as a gacha system, where you purchase these little black market tech files from the store using an in-game currency called Proxima that you get for free through various means. For example, in the server that we're currently in, as the different chapters of the galactic story unfold, everybody is rewarded Proxima coins for that if they meet certain criterias. You also can get Proxima coins for special events, like say Christmas event that happened just recently. You can get it for I can't remember actually if you get it for your individual agreements and whatnot, but basically you can get it quite easily through a lot of different means. The easiest one by far, which is the one that I always do, is the Dawn funding scheme. Now, like I said, I purchased the agreement this server and last server for $10 or whatever it is. But by no means do you need to do so, because you get the free partnership agreement just for playing, which, as you get points through various daily activities or weekly activities, you get free Proxima coins, but also free blueprint boxes, going all the way through. Now, in the first server, it doesn't really matter too much what you get from these boxes. Obviously, some things are better than others, but the first server is really a tutorial server. It is exclusively filled with players who are also on their first server on that account. Now, Infinite Lagrange supposedly has rules against multiple accounts. I have not looked into that myself, and I only play on one account. But I know that people have made multiple accounts and do play this game using them. So that's how groups get new players to their organizations, is they'll make a new character, go to the first server, and they'll recruit players to then merge into their bigger organizations. So yeah, the in-game currency can actually be used to purchase a financial plan, is what they call it, which is basically give up 1,000, well, 600 or 1,000, depending on which one you're doing, of your Proxima coins, and in exchange, every day you will get to claim 100 Proxima coins, either for 10 days if you do the 600 token one, or for 32 days. Or no, it's 15 days for the 600 token one. It's 30 days for the 1,000. So you see I did that one, and now I will be getting 3,200 total tokens. And you can do this as many times as you want. You claim it once a day. And the reason why that's really important, and something that I think a lot of players overlook, especially new players, the store where you get these blueprint boxes offers you 1 box per day at 50% off. One of these, not this one. So for 150 Proxima coins, you can get an additional black market tech box. Now, as I said, that financial agreement costs 1,000 for the best one, the 30-day one, but it rewards 3,200. That means if you always set aside 1,000 of every financial agreement, you will get 2,200 spare, which is enough to buy you 15 or so boxes. That's a lot of boxes for free, and a lot of chances to get ships, valuable ships, for free. Now, the first and most important thing to know about these boxes is they are random. The items inside of them, random chance, but there are a few caveats to that. So if you click on the exclamation mark, you can see what ships you have a chance of getting from any given box. As you can see, there are a lot. You also can see these, weapon tech. I'll cover these in detail in another video, along with the tech points. If you then click the info icon up here, you actually are given a probability breakdown. Now, it has been my experience that this probability breakdown is very accurate. I have opened quite a few boxes in my first 2 phases, but so far it has been spot on. So you can see from this that you most of the time are going to get tech points, and even if you get a blueprint, you will still get tech points and other stuff. But if you do get one of these ships, rarely will it be the big ships. Most of the time it will be frigates, destroyers, and cruisers. And of course, corvettes and fighters. Most of the time. Now, this is important to note. It is very easy in this game to get most of the basic frigates and cruisers. As I will demonstrate here, I have the starter frigate, the FG-300, and then I have the Mare Tranquillatus, the Mare Nubium, both of which are pretty lackluster. I'm just going to throw that out there. The Carillion. Now, unfortunately, I only have the Type A Carillion, not the B or the Special C, which is really good. More on that later. The Reliant, of which I have the Type A and the Type C, which is phenomenal. Also, I just want to point out how amazing these ships look. Little fanboying. I have the Mare Serenitatis, or Serenitatis, however you say that. The Xenostinger, one of my favorite frigates, and for good reason. This thing hits like a freight train. And then the Noma, which is garbage for the default version, but the logistics support version is amazing. And then for destroyers, I have all 3 Winged Hussar. Now I will say that I got kind of lucky to get the anti-ship and the integrated, or I think actually the anti-ship is given to you, but the integrated I got lucky and got from a box. The C-type, however, the anti-aircraft version, I got this through a research agreement. And while some people might call me crazy, I actually specifically tried to get this one, and I did. And I'll cover research agreements in a moment. So as you can see, there are a lot of ships, and not each ship, but most ships have variants that you can also get. Now, as we just mentioned, you can only really reliably get frigates and destroyers from these black market boxes. Now, this is okay because the majority of the meta at the moment is frigates and destroyers. Not a lot of people are throwing big, heavy-duty ships around. They're expensive, they're slow to build, and they're kind of a pain in the butt to actually replace. So why build one very expensive battlecruiser for 35 tech points like the Constantine the Great when you could just build 5 of the Xeno Stingers and then 5 TP or CP on something else, you know? Especially considering those 5 Xeno Stingers are going to actually put out more damage than the Constantine the Great at a fraction of the cost. So, I mentioned before research agreements and other things. Now, these chests, they usually reward, blueprint boxes, they usually reward you with 1 research point and then 1 tech point or blueprint or tech point and a blueprint depending on some other things. Now, these tech point or research points you can use, just like these other currencies, you can spend them to purchase these ship and aircraft blueprint boxes. Unlike the black markets, these are guaranteed to contain a ship or fighter, or I should say ship or aircraft. And just like with the black markets, you can see the probabilities. Also, like the black markets, you have a really high chance of getting a frigate or destroyer. In fact, almost half of the time you will get a frigate or a destroyer. And then you have a good chance, about a quarter of the time, to get an aircraft unit, which isn't bad. And then sometimes cruisers, rarely battle cruisers, and good luck on the carriers and force auxiliaries. I say that having gotten my solar whale from one of these, which is this bad boy right here. But these boxes, which are 15 research points, meaning you had to open, realistically, 15 of these aren't the only ways to get ships. Indeed, while these are good ways to get ships, they're arguably not the best way. The research agreement is the best way. Now, unfortunately, I do not have 25 points. I was hoping that I could get enough points to do this for this video today, but I will have to do a separate video to actually detail the breakdown of this. But the research agreement allows you to have all the benefits of a guaranteed ship, like the ship file one. And it lets you pick factors of your ship, such as the faction that it belongs to. There are several factions in this game. What type of weaponry it uses, whether that be direct fire weapons, such as cannons, plasma weapons, and such, or indirect fire weapons, like missiles and torpedoes. And finally, you get to pick more or less its archetype. So like a support ship or a sustained combat ship, things of that nature. So for an example, I don't know if I can show this or not, probably not. For example, if I wanted to get, say I wanted to get this Tundra. Well, we can see that the Tundra belongs to this faction. Or actually, we're going to use the Guardian, because I like the Guardian. The Guardian belongs to Antonios. That's the faction. We would have chosen its weapon system as indirect, because it has a storm missile system. Not that it does much damage, but it does have a weapon. And then for the final one, we would have chosen support. And that would have given us the best chance of unlocking the Guardian. Now, each time you use the research agreement, it costs you 25 research points versus 15 for the random box. But there's more cost to it than that. It also requires you to spend a lot of time waiting. The research agreement takes a day or so to complete phase 1. You pick a faction for phase 1. And then at the end of that day, you can choose to just randomly draw, and it will give you a random blueprint from that faction 100% of the time. Or you can push on to phase 2. Phase 2, you pick another category. So like that would be the phase where you would pick support or fighter craft or whatever. That takes a couple more days. I can't remember the exact number, it's been a little while. At the end of that time, you can then draw, and now you will have of the faction that you chose, as well as of the subcategory, so support, fighter craft, sustained firepower, etc. Or you can choose to go on to the third and final phase. The third and final phase takes a lot longer to complete, but it allows you to narrow down your choices even further, ultimately narrowing it down to just a handful of choices, sometimes as little as 2 or 3, such as the case of the one I did to get my Winged Hussar. Now, the research agreement does have some drawbacks. Notably, it costs nearly twice as many research points as just doing a ship box. That's a pretty big drawback, I'm not going to lie. But there are also some hidden advantages that a lot of people don't really know about, or at least it's not really talked about very much. The biggest one is with your capital ships. Now, in Infinite Lagrange, you have big capital ships, the battle cruisers, and the carriers, to name 2. And these ships have modules that you can unlock for them. As you can see here, I don't have these modules. These modules replace existing modules on the ship, and they have various benefits. They can change the way a ship operates, such as the case with the ST-59. If you get the armor module for the ST-59, then you actually replace the regular composite armor here with its 210 base armor, or not 210 base, but it's like 100 and something base armor and 10% base energy resistance with an 80% energy resistance, meaning that energy weapons, which normally destroy big ships, such as the ST-59, now just tickle it. And all these ships have these buffs. Well, except for stuff like this, I guess, which is limited to the server that you're on. These are part of an agreement. You can't, I believe you can't get these permanently. But like the Constantine the Great here has a couple different ones that you can get. And these upgrades can dramatically change the power of the ship, taking it from something that's only meh tier to something truly disgusting. This is especially true in the case of your carriers. The Solar Whale, by default, is a big, heavy, and expensive target. And it's not that good by default. Sure, it can have 500,000 hit points, but that doesn't matter too much if they kill the 6 corvettes that it's carrying, which are the bulk of its damage. But a couple changes. Now it can carry fighters. Now it can do a bunch of other stuff, allowing you to make use of some of its features, some of its buffs. Now, why did I bring up these modules? Well, most people think the only way that you can get modules for these capital ships is these black market tech file boxes. the ship and aircraft blueprint boxes, or the special boxes that you can buy from the development rating reward store. As you can see here, I have purchased all of the Antonios and Noma files. I'm working on Jupiter standard. Not sure which one I'm going to do yet, probably Jupiter just because. And then, of course, these Enterprise BP files that you get with your Dawn points at the end of a server. These are the points you get for doing well on a server. Most people think that. Well, most people are wrong. You can get, through the research agreement, a capital ship that you already have. So, say the Solar Whale. Getting the Solar Whale when you already have the Solar Whale is guaranteed to give you a random module for that Solar Whale. And as I said, modules can make or break your capital ship's utility. Most of them are not worth using without their extra modules. A couple are, or if you need them for certain things like tanking big, angry fleets, the ST-59 and stuff like that can do quite well. But with their modules, they become truly powerful. Now there's one more box that I did not cover, and that's the generic tech files. The generic tech files box is similar to the black market box, but you can only get these ships. Now, the FG-300 is your starter ship. You start the game with these variants for free. The AC-720 or 721 A-type, likewise, given to you for free. The CAS integrated type, given to you for free. The KCCP integrated type, and I believe aircraft type are given to you for free. Don't quote me on the aircraft type. Can't quite remember. And then as part of the free Dawn funding scheme, partnership agreement, in phase 1, all the way at the end, 50, you get the ST-59 for free. Now these are purchased using UE coins, which are another in-game currency that you get for free, and you get these just by building the structures in your base that reward you with a certain number of these per hour, or from completing quests such as go guard an area, blow up this NPC fleet, stuff like that. Standard RPG stuff. These you are limited to only buying 2 of per day, period. They don't give very good rewards. In fact, most of the time, all they give you are these tech files. But sometimes you can get some of the best things in the game, such as the case of the CVT-800 Pulsar. This is arguably the best Corvette in the game. It is very tanky, so it makes it difficult to kill. Its weapons are extremely good because they are active air defense and energy damage, so they ignore armor, so they are extremely good at killing other aerial targets. And they're a Corvette, so they're cheap, and most of the ships in the aircraft department can use it. You also can get the CVM-011, which is just a decent all-rounder ship. With the right points spent on it, it can hit pretty hard, but it is worth noting that its anti-aircraft is counterattack only, so it's kind of pointless. But its damage with the assault missile system is respectable for a cheap ship. The SC-002 is garbage. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's just bad. So is the CV-11. You get this for free as well. The carrier, the CV-3000, really actually quite good. Not only can it carry 5 large fighters, which are fighter bombers, some of the hardest hitting ships in the game, but it can also carry some corvettes, and it actually moves pretty quick. That is a 2,000 warp speed on a carrier. Compare that to the ST-59 here at 1250. That carrier, which is a bigger ship, moves almost twice as fast by default. and warp speed upgrades are a percentage upgrade. For reference, these cruisers, the KCCP and the CAS especially only moves a little bit faster than that carrier. Food for thought. So, what are my recommendations? Because this video has been going on for long enough. When you are building your base, it is always a good idea to save your Proxima coins until you have enough to buy the 30-day agreement. The 30-day agreement will reward you with an extra 2,000 Proxima coins for free, guaranteeing that even if you have no other source of Proxima coins, such as the Galaxy events, say you're in a server where your team can't do anything, or whatever the case may be, you will always be able to get a box every other day and progress in the game. After you have the 1,000 saved up and spent in order to get your 30-day subscription, we'll call it, then I would recommend you use your coins not on the 300 boxes that are in there, but I would recommend that you save them till you have 1,500. The interstellar caravans happen periodically as the story progresses. There are, I believe, a total of 4 or 5. So that's 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 interstellar caravan. What the interstellar caravan does is in your shop, you'll be given a, I believe it's random, set of black market tech files that you can buy, but they're special. They will have a bonus such as the research is completed instantly. Generally, that's not very useful, but if you get, say, a carrier offered to you, a free instantaneously unlocked carrier can be kind of nice. Or better yet, you can get one that has 2 tech points, 2 of these blue tech points offered, which tech points are extremely valuable, especially later on in the game, when you're going into higher and higher phases, because you'll be faced off against other players. Sometimes you'll have players in your server who are on their 9th or 10th phase, sometimes on their 3rd phase. But if you have a bunch of tech points right out the gate when you jump into a server, you have a leg up. This is especially true in the case of the destroyer tech points, as you will want to have at least 7 of these for your AC-721 to really jumpstart your industrial progress once you unlock it. More on that in a future video. So after you have the interstellar caravan pop up, if the stuff in it is pretty bad, not worth buying, skip it. Don't buy them just because they're here. You will usually be better off using those coins to get a different type of crate, whether that be saving them for 1 per day of this if you're a free-to-play player or only spend a little bit of money. Or, of course, you can go to the store, the development rating store, which is over here, and buy these tech files. These tech files are kind of in between those random Proxima boxes, black market boxes, and a research agreement, because you're guaranteed to get a ship from these factions and from only these factions. So these are the only possible ships that I could get. Now, you're not guaranteed to get a ship with these, unlike the research agreement. But because there are so few options, take the case of the Jupiter. There are so few ships for Jupiter. A lot of fighters, but very few ships. So, for example, 3% chance to get a frigate, 2.6 chance to get a destroyer, 1% chance to get a cruiser. Well, if you get the cruiser, there are only 2 cruisers to pick from. The Callisto, which is phenomenal in all 3 of its versions, and the Io, which is okay, good, and fantastic in its versions. So, removing all these other cruisers from these other factions, say, for example, Noma's cruisers, which are the Chimera and the Light Cone. The Light Cone is, we'll pretend it doesn't exist for now. And then the Chimera, which is really only good if you get the heavy cannon version. These two versions are just kind of meh. Well, not getting these as an option is really good for you. One more thing to note. These tech files, while they all are limited to only the ships of that faction, they have one more advantage. The tech points that you get are always doubled. You will always get 2 tech points for whatever it is. Earlier this week, I opened one, and I got 2 battlecruiser tech points. These are nuts. Like, absolutely nuts. So, that's my recommendation. Get your daily stuff unlocked, buy 1 box per day while you save up coins from the events. Get the interstellar caravans if they are good, and if they're not good, development rating, and buy these boxes. Now, I'm pretty sure that at the end of each server, the numbers reset and you can buy 5 more again, but don't quote me on that. Well, I hope you guys learned something new. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm not one of those YouTubers who's going to say like, subscribe if you want more of my content. Rather, I just hope that you learned something and had fun. If you want to check out any of my other videos on any of my other content from other games, I do have a few Path of Exile videos, as well as some League of Legends and of course my EVE Online stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.